Humans now have shorter attention spans than goldfish. This is one of the most overused statements in advertising and marketing circles. In a span of 10 to 12 years, we've moved from reach and impressions to engagement as the North Star metric. But it all boils down to attention. In this episode of The Quick Call, I'm joined by Amit Chaubey, Head of Marketing Sciences for APAC at Snap Inc., to bust some myths and help us decode how brands can truly capture attention. Welcome to another episode of The Quick Call. Amit, it's a pleasure having you here with us.
It's great to be here as well, Hitesh. Really excited to talk to you.
Right. So, Amit, I'll quickly dive into the conversation. I want to understand from you, since you've seen digital advertising evolve around cohorts, around markets, what is that one myth or misconception people have about digital advertising, and what is that one thing that industry should let go of, and why?
I think the advent of digital was also the advent of a lot of data that we could measure, right? Mm-hmm. And just because you have data does not make it worth measuring. So the whole myth around digital that we would like to break it, just because you have data does not make it meaningful. You need to have the right data, and the right data which predicts the outcomes that you're looking for, predicts real human response. That leads to real success for brands. So that would be the biggest myth that we would want advertisers to let go of.
Right. So when you say right amount of data, what kind of data that is?
So I'll give you an example, right? From this report specifically. Digital advertising, and especially advertising which is trying to engage consumers, has been trying to measure engagement. And we moved from impressions to clicks to now view through. And all of these are device metrics. So something's happening on the device and we're assuming a person is taking action on that. Now, one of the gaps that we saw in coming from this report was just because an ad has come on your device or played on your device does not mean a person has looked at the ad, right? And you would intuitively also understand this. If you're watching TV today, you also have your phone on your hand. So when an ad comes on the TV, you're usually on your phone. If an ad comes on the phone, you're on your TV. And we see this exacerbated on Gen Z. I'm a father. I have 2 kids, and I've seen them use their devices so intuitively and so seamlessly that they are more sort of able to do this even at a higher rate than we do, right? So that is what we mean by having the right data. So if you were to take those on-device metrics as reality, it would show you, for example, today that people are engaged with advertising. However, we find that about 50% of the people are watching ads for less than 2 seconds. And your view-through rate data might say that it's much higher, right? So if you take that as the truth and optimize for that, it will lead you to inefficiencies in your outcomes. Whereas having the right metric of whether a person actually engaged with the ad will then let you optimize better for your outcomes as well.
Right. So I get it. I mean, views, impressions. So impressions, reach, and views are not equal to attention. And especially with a cohort like Gen Z, they are like very much open or very much inclined towards multitasking, or they have their own times to switch gears between mediums and matrix.
Yes.
I understand that Gen Z consumes more content than any generation in the history, yet they are not as prone to consuming advertising. Their attention to advertising is quite low. So from your perspective, what should brands be doing to actually earn true engagement from Gen Z audiences in today's day and age?
This is a great question and a really important question for us, right? Gen Z is one of the largest cohorts we have in India, 377 million, huge purchasing power today. They're expected to reach 2 trillion in purchasing power by 2035. And Snapchat has a large part of our audience is the young India. 90% of our audience is within the age group of the young India age group. So in that context, this question becomes important for us. And that's why we did this study.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we found was, yes, Gen Zs pay less attention to advertising, but generally people do pay less attention to advertising, right? Avoidance of advertising is one of the realities of our business. However, there are ways that you can start overcoming that as well. There are ability to engage people and earn more advertising. And it's interesting, we use very commercial terminology for this. We ask for paying attention, right? Earning attention. And that's the mindset we need to get into as advertisers as well. How do we earn more attention for these audiences? And the report identifies 3 things that help Gen Z, broadly advertisers earn more attention, but specifically for Gen Z. The first lever that advertisers have is platforms. Which platforms are audiences naturally engaged with, paying more attention to the content, the context of that platform, whether people are happier on that platform increases engagement. The second lever is the formats. If you have formats that are more immersive, that allow playfulness, that creates more engagement. And the third one is the creative itself. If you have the content itself is less, I wouldn't say less like an ad, but has a story, a narrative, which can be told. That could be one way of engaging more as well.
In your current role at Snap, you study how people really interact with ads, and you have a closer view of what separates fleeting attention from that of meaningful attention. So how can marketers design for meaningful attention?
Yeah, this is an interesting and a nuanced conversation on attention, right? Brands don't always, and based on the objective, brands may not always need a lot of attention for the task that they have to do. So, for example, if you are a famous brand and you are very well known in the market, and you want to remind consumers and keep top of mind when they go to make their new purchase or next purchase, you want to remind them of a thing, right? So probably if you have very strong brand assets, your jingle, your logo, you can create a short, fleeting attention. If you capture that, that will also remind people. But if you are a brand which requires deep consideration, categories like auto or beauty, where you want people to understand why they should either change their current brand or make another purchase of your same brand, and you want to tell a narrative, you need longer amounts of attention. So I think that was a nuanced thing that also came out from the study itself, that you don't always need high levels of attention to do all tasks. You can use fleeting levels of attention, which is naturally people are more attuned to, and use that to remind people of some certain things that you want to do. You can also use deeper levels of attention to do more engaging tasks for your brand as well. And so that also came back. One of our questions was, is there a sweet spot for attention to do everything, right? This was the finding, that there was no sweet spot. It depends on what you're trying to do as a brand and what's the job to be done that you have as your brand. So you can use different sorts of attention. This also sort of created an interesting dynamic that not all platforms, not all formats capture a lot of attention, right? So this creates space for all platforms and formats to exist as well. You can use display advertising, capturing fleeting amounts of attention with your logo up front and still remind people. You can also use long form advertising to capture attention. Now, one of the unique things that we did find that sort of benefits Snap as well, where we naturally play well, is AR. We found AR was one of the formats where the type of attention people were paying was slightly different. Usually we are advertising interrupts people, right? And we are trying to capture attention. It's a very sort of word which also denotes what I think. But AR is voluntary attention. People naturally engage with it. They're playing, they're in a playful mood. So it captures voluntary attention. The quality of attention improves as well. And hence AR was able to do a lot more with the amount of attention that was being paid to it.
Interesting. You either use fleeting attention, make the audience more open to your communication, and then you plug in something which is directed towards meaningful attention. And this could be vice versa as well. You mentioned that India is one of the largest Gen Z audience cohorts that is there, but brands don't really, I wouldn't say that they don't do effort to market to Gen Z, but their perception is very one size fits all, or either they would direct every piece of communication towards Gen Z and don't really look at other cohorts. Attention has now is that new conversation, like probably 2-3 years from, like 2-3 years before, we were talking a lot about engagement as a metric. Before that, maybe reach was one of the metric. So when it comes to attention, what do you think brands are getting wrong at this point in time?
I think more than getting wrong, it's probably brands need to lean into the attention framework a bit more. It is once you understand attention, you need to then start thinking of how you create frameworks to bring that into your executional process, right? So what we are trying to do today is bridge that gap for brands. Firstly, address the question. There were 3 questions we were trying to address, and I think that framework would help answer this question as well. The first one is does attention matter? There are so many metrics that brands already have. Why would they look at another metric? So that was the first question. The second question was, does attention improve over every existing metric that they already have? And the third question was, is there a framework that they can use to improve the capture of attention? And what are the ways they can compare this metric across different platforms, formats, so that they can execute their plans based on attention, right? So that's what I think that would help bridge the gap that advertisers have today. So I won't say it's wrong. Once we answer this, it makes easy. So if I were to answer those questions, does attention matter? Yes, it does. The report shows that attention is difficult to get, but once you get it, it's really valuable. Even small marginal amounts of attention improve outcomes disproportionately. So a 5 percentage point increase in attention improves outcomes by 12%. And that's across all platforms. The second thing was, does it improve over current metrics? We saw, yes, it does. Metrics like VTR have been used today to predict engagement and outcomes. Attention improves over that by about 4 to 8x. Ability to predict outcomes. And the third thing was the framework. So for this, we talked about what the best practices on attention are, and we talked about that previously, the platform, format, and creative. On the other side, there were also metrics that are needed on this. And the 2 metrics that came out from the report were attention per mille. So comparable to cost per 1,000 impressions, this was attention per 1,000 impressions, which is essentially number of people who watch your ad, pay any attention to your ad, and how much attention do they pay per 1,000 impressions. And you can calculate a metric based on that, which you can then compare across say Snap and other digital platforms as well. And the cost per attention can then be an efficiency metric. So then it starts becoming a very sort of from a strategic conversation to a tactical conversation as well. And that I think will help brands bridge this gap that they see today.
So you mentioned cost per attention or attention per mille. How does one measure that? I mean, and how are platforms such as Snap building to make this attention more measurable?
Yeah. So very specifically, attention per mille is, suppose you do 1,000 impressions, right? Of the 1,000 impressions, you saw 60% of the people paid any attention to your ad, which was less than a second to whatever full secondage that you have. So you have that 60%. And those 60% of the people on average paid 2 seconds of attention. So you get 120 sort of APM, attention per 1,000, right? And you can compare that with another platform where you had 80% of the people paying 3 seconds of attention, which is 240 APM. So now you can compare that, the first platform was giving me 120 APM. The second platform was giving me 240 APM. The second platform is 2 times better in capturing attention than the first platform. Now, if you look at the cost of the 2 platforms, the first platform was giving you 1,000 impressions for $100. The second platform was giving you 1,000 impressions for $300. So suddenly you can also compare cost, that this is, while it gives you 2x more attention, it's 3x more expensive. So now you can make a choice of where you want to, whether you want to drive just more attention or whether you want to drive efficient attention as well, right? So you can make choices based on that. So that's how we are trying to bring, so the way we are doing this is we are working for this particular study, we worked with the leaders in this space. From a media planning perspective, we work with WPP Media, a global leader in media planning. And from an attention measurement perspective, we work with Lumen, who are a global leader in attention measurement. And through that, we are trying to bring this framework to the market.
And if you could take me through the process again of measuring attention, so I'm not talking about attention in terms of seconds, but
Yes.
what is the methodology? What goes behind measuring attention, like from a platform like Lumen? What
Sure.
do they do to make sure that this is universal, it's a standard, it's a benchmark?
Great question. I wish the Lumen person, Mike, was here as well. He's doing the rounds with us this week as well. But Lumen has a proprietary methodology for collecting attention. The attention measurement you can capture attention in different ways. There's various biometric signals that you capture for capturing attention. Lumen uses one of those biometric metrics to capture attention, where they are able to track attention on your mobile phone. For this particular study, they created a panel in India of about 3,200 people. They took their permission of measuring attention. For those people, they also created sandbox environments, which was a replica of different platforms they wanted to measure attention on. They then created content for those platforms, and the same ad was shown across different platforms. So each platform then was comparable in terms of the audience that was watching it, in terms of the creative that they had. And after the person saw the content, a few questions were asked to them on the ability to retain the brands that were shown. So they were able to capture memory impacts from this. So by stitching that data, they have been able to answer the questions that we had raised to them.
This study would help a brand or a marketer looking to go deeper into attention. And I feel that more than brands and marketers, it's a good foresight for a platform such as Snap too. What kind of things Snap is building for deeper attention, and what could brands gain from what Snap is building?
So one of the things that we wanted to get from this report was what kind of campaign practices can we identify which help capture more attention on advertising, right? And that was a good learning for us. So for example, one of the outcomes for us was that a combination of video and lenses is able to earn more attention, especially for Gen Z. And there are certain creative nuances that are also able to capture more attention of Gen Z, like UGC-based content, which is more natural to our platform. Having some music in the ad is able to capture more attention. So we are able to build a playbook of this, which we can take to our partners and advertisers so that they can also capture more attention. So that's on one side. The other side was through this research and through all of the work that we have been doing with Lumen globally, we have been working with them to build models to predict attention. It's not possible to build or capture attention in the intensive way we did with this study. So how do we create always-on metrics on attention? So with Lumen, we have built sort of a predictive model which says that based on the campaign parameters, creative type, etc., you have used, what is the attention that we can predict this campaign would get? So we're trying to bring those into the market as well. We have a partnership now with Integral Ad Sciences, IAS, as well as Double Verify, where Lumen's and Snap's data on attention is available for advertisers to use.
And you think other platforms would also follow the trail and would start looking at attention from the same lens as Snap is looking at this point?
I would not be able to hazard a guess on what other platforms would do. I think from a marketer's perspective, I think this is an important metric, right? I think the study proves attention is not a vanity metric. It is not something that does not have impact. It has significant impact. And especially if you are trying to win with a cohort like Gen Z, you really need to start pivoting towards these metrics. The audience expectation has changed. The way audience is engaging with content is changing. If our metrics don't evolve with that, I don't think the industry can progress as well.
So speaking of metrics, what do you think is that one metric that marketers should let go of in 2025 and shouldn't be chasing it at all?
That's also a tough one for me to answer, which is the one metric that marketers can. I think one of the things that we did find from the attention report is a nuance, right? Like I said, there's no sweet spot on attention. I think the addition of this will, in any case, start pivoting marketers away from some of the more the older metrics that we have now. We can say that, oh, should you use metrics like reach, etc., in today's age? But those have been relevant metrics for a lot of time. So I think this addition of the metric will qualify existing metrics better, and it will improve outcomes for marketers. So I'll not go into a binary.
Got it. From the report, is there anything that was very strikingly interesting for you? You felt that, okay, this is one thing that I'd not seen coming, but then this is one observation that is quite on point and should change the way people look at advertising or marketing.
I think one of the, as we were starting this, the genesis of this study, we had done a lot of work globally. So one of the questions we were receiving from our advertisers and ourselves as well was, does India behave very differently in this, right? Our cultural context is so different. Most of our studies have been in the US, UK, Norway, some in Middle East as well. So the starting point of the assumption was it will be very different. The surprising point was that it was not very different. When we have compared the way people consume advertising, it seems to be very similar across. Now, this creates good things for us because we can then leverage the power of the global data to also predict outcomes across markets, right? The difference where we did find difference in India was this, the Gen Z cohort. That creates unique shapes of attention for India because we just have so many of Gen Zs in the market, more than anywhere else in the world. So I think that was an interesting thing for us to find out from the report.
And lastly, for the marketers listening this podcast, what are 3 changes they should make in their strategies from today onwards if they want to win in the attention economy?
Yeah, I think the first one is start integrating and leveraging the metrics like attention for their planning. The study clearly shows the value of attention in being able to predict outcomes and improve your ability to build your brand. The second one was or is that as you're looking at different cohorts, there are ways of capturing attention which are different for different cohorts, like especially for Gen Zs. If you are trying to build or win with Gen Zs, look at platforms that naturally engage with them, look at formats that Gen Zs are finding more useful, and also look at your creative strategy in terms of engaging Gen Z. I think the third one is that don't be fixated on metrics like view-through rates to predict outcomes for yourself as well. Those metrics can sometimes mislead you in terms of the outcome that you're getting, and move closer towards actual human and human engagement metrics. I think that was the big learning for us from this, that on-device metrics might not actually tell you what the human behind the screen is doing.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Amit, for sparing time to do this. I had a lovely time having this chat with you. I hope the audience would also get as many takeaways from this. Thank you.
I'm sure your audience will find this valuable as well. Thank you, Hitesh, for this interesting conversation.
Yeah. One key takeaway from this conversation is that brands need to go beyond vanity metrics and design for a healthy balance of fleeting and meaningful attention. And more importantly, start measuring it. Thank you for jumping on this quick call with Hitesh. I'll see you in the next episode.